Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blackfoot Book Club again for the pilot edition. Yeah, the pilot edition of the Essential Film Reviews collection. And without further ado, from 2006, this is The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan. Are you watching closely? Quote, "Every magic trick consists of 3 parts or acts. The first part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, a deck of cards, a bird or a man. He shows you this object, perhaps asks you to inspect it, to see that it is indeed real, but of course it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn. The magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it because of course you're not really looking. You don't really want to know. You want to be fooled, but you won't clap yet. Because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back. That's why every magic trick has a third act, the hardest part, the part we call the prestige." End quote. With so many twists and turns and unexpected events, this is another masterpiece that is difficult to describe and do justice to without spoilers, so please bear with me as I try. And as I say so many times to so many people, if you haven't seen this film before, you simply have to. And you'll then watch again and again as you piece together the multitude of little hints and nods as you watch for a second, third or fourth time. It's a multi-layered treat of a film with some standout performances which I'll come to after a brief admission as to my own obsession with magic, tricks and illusions. I've always been obsessed by magic from an early age, but of recent times David Blaine and particularly Derren Brown are my heroes in this regard, as they continually produce illusions and tricks that truly boggle the mind and have you grasping for the reason or the prestige. It truly brings out the inner child in me and fascinates and perplexes me in equal measure, and for that I'm forever thankful. And it's never quite what you expected, is it? Anyway, starting with the cast, and what a stellar cast it is too. Some of the best character actors of our generation are here: Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Hugh Jackman, Scarlett Johansson and Andy Serkis, ably supported by Piper Perabo, Rebecca Hall and a scene-stealing cameo from David Bowie. To the screenplay, written by Christopher and his brother Jonathan and based on Christopher Priest's novel of the same name. Wally Pfister is again masterly as director of photography, and David Julian again returns to provide a haunting score throughout. The closing credits play out with Tom York's great song Analyze, and how very, very apt, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. The film opens with the very premise of the whole movie, that every magic trick or illusion comes in 3 parts or acts. Part 1 is the pledge, 2 the turn, and 3 the prestige. Quickly, this is shown through edited snippets of various different tricks showing the 3 acts, but before you can fully absorb this process, the film moves quickly to a court scene, describing in detail how such a past act had gone horribly, horribly wrong. This court scene is near present day, but set around the turn of the 20th century. The continuous backstory is provided by an intense narration and the reading of 2 diaries, from 2 different characters in 2 very different locations and circumstances. Often cut between the 2 characters, writing and reading the diaries, the outline detail is provided, but this is still very much just the beginning. From the ill-fated trick onward, the film constantly deceives you, delights you, pleases you, challenges you, and can often break your heart. The ill-fated trick splits the friendship of 2 magicians, Alfred Borden, yet another powerful performance from Christian Bale, and Robert Angier, a stylish Hugh Jackman. Friends and rivals, they are seeking the ultimate illusion and are surrounded by equally rich, in-depth characters. Cutter sees Michael Caine as a magician's ingénieur, a creator of the physical aspects of the illusions, and Caine is brilliant throughout. Olivia, a magician's assistant, is played brilliantly by the underrated Scarlett Johansson, and completing the triumvirate of wonderful female supporting roles in a very, very male-dominated film is Julia, played by Piper Perabo, and Sarah by a brilliant Rebecca Hall. Character detail has been left deliberately vague so as not to hint at potential spoilers. There are two further performances worthy of note though. Ali sees Andy Serkis on top form, assisting Nikola Tesla, with David Bowie in a stunning cameo. The minor drawback here are the scant few scenes with Barry, who is though utterly flawless. It's also interesting to note how Nikola Tesla leaves our screens and cue the age-old conspiracy theory. But there's far more fact than fiction, or indeed theory, where this is concerned, but I'll leave that for another day. Rather, here's a brief dissection of his two, albeit brief, scenes. Angier is striding purposely towards Nikola Tesla's mountainside retreat after finally securing a desired audience with the inventor. Entering his workshop, he is greeted by an electrical current running throughout the room, and especially in the corner of the room, and looks aghast. Ali reassures him it's perfectly safe. Shortly thereafter, Tesla comes striding through the electrical current and greets Angier with a firm handshake after complimenting him on his magic shows. He then shows Angier an example of what is possible as they hold hands again, with Angier's free hand holding an unconnected light bulb. "What's conducting the electricity?" asks an astonished Angier, to which Tesla's reply is a simple, "Our bodies, Mr. Angier, are quite capable of conducting and indeed producing energy." A brief cutscene follows as all three men enjoy lunch on a balcony enjoying the hills and mountains that surround them. Ali is only briefly in shot whilst the camera is continually back and forth between Tesla and Angier as they tellingly discuss love, dreams, their obsessions, their life's work, and of course Angier's request for Tesla to build the ultimate illusion machine, his purpose for being here today. Before we reach this conclusion and the end of a very short scene, David Bowie steals the scene brilliantly. Quote, "The first time I tried to change the world, I was hailed as a visionary. The second time, I was asked politely to retire." A film of constant deception, of obsessively striving for that one unique trick, of envy and how that eats away at the soul. It's also a further and indeed heightened take on the question of does the end justify the means. It can also be viewed as a tale of redemption, but ultimately it's a tale of broken friendships and a total devotion to the art of magic and producing a unique illusion. The rivalry throughout even encompasses that of Tesla and his competitor Thomas Edison, but it centres on a working class magician prepared to get his hands dirty, and that of an aristocratic showman seeking the adulation of the crowd for his one ultimate unique trick. Christopher Nolan infuses his own devotion to the art of filmmaking here to bring us a film so unique, so well told, so well layered, and so beautifully shot and captured it remains a joy to watch again and again. Both Wally Pfister, cinematography, and Kevin Kavanagh, art direction, were nominated for Oscars, but they are ultimately lost out. However, the film is a real treat and a cinematic masterpiece that will never age. The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan. Only second in my affections for the entire career of Christopher Nolan, and bested by 2000's Memento, which no doubt I will be reading here shortly. I adore The Prestige. I could watch it this very minute, and I hope some of my reading there has given you the same feeling too. I watched Oppenheimer in the summer and absolutely blooming adored it. Can't wait for it to come out on DVD and Blu-ray. The original blog on the career of Christopher Nolan was one of my very, very first written blogs back in 2013. I updated it from 2014 and throughout, all the way up to now with Oppenheimer. It's one of my very first blogs. You can find it on medium.com/@StephenBlackford561. But until we see each other again, I leave you in peace and in solidarity. And I thank you so much for watching. Peace everyone, and be careful out there.